So I want to talk about a video that I've been seeing on Instagram and Facebook from Lisa Bevere. I have some of Lisa's books, loved Girls with Swords. Lately, John and Lisa Bevere have been talking about addressing the issue of pornography in the Christian family and the Christian church. Now, if you followed me at all, you know that that's a big deal to me, and I think it's a hugely important conversation that we should have. I'm not sure that this is the way we should be having it. So I'm going to break down this video and talk about some things that they're getting really right, which is awesome, and some huge concerns that I have. Here goes.
I've been asked to weigh in on what it felt like as a wife when John was wrestling with his addiction to pornography and masturbation. And I just feel like I need to be really honest. It was really rough. It was really rough for me. And I didn't actually handle it well. I took it on myself. I thought, I'm not enough. And I actually
Okay.
wasn't really there for
Let's
John.
stop right there for just. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about this. Let's bring it out into the open. Let's have real discussions on a really important need that is, as my friend Darren Pratt says, the silent killer of Christian marriages. There is no better way to tear apart families and marriages at the seams than through sexual addiction, than through the misrepresentation of the character of God to wives and children and other men that comes from living a duplicitous life and living with this secret hidden in the closet, these skeletons. But they're not skeletons, they're real living flesh beings. So yes, let's talk about it. Thank you, John and Lisa, for bringing this conversation to the forefront. And we need to be able to talk about it in order to break the chains that brings. But let's keep going.
And I actually wasn't really there for John the way I wish I could have been there, the way I would be there for him now.
This is where we start to go off track. Keep listening.
I saw his addiction to pornography and masturbation as his problem, and he didn't fight it as though it was our problem.
That's because it's not your collective problem. An addiction to pornography and masturbation is not caused by the spouse, but primarily addictions to pornography and masturbation pre-exist the marriage relationship. It is not an our problem thing. It is the addict's problem situation. So in this, there is a tremendous amount of oh my goodness, just potential for victim blaming and victim shaming of the betrayal trauma being experienced by the spouse. I have to speak up about this incredibly dangerous mindset that a sex addict, a porn addict's problem is a marital problem. Porn addiction is abuse, full stop. And abuse and porn addiction, sex addiction, are not marital issues. They are addiction issues. They are sin issues. A wife cannot fight this battle for her husband. A wife should never be told to fight this battle for her husband. This shifts responsibility for recovery from the addict to the spouse. Even if it doesn't fully shift it, it shares the responsibility for recovery. And an addict must take full and total responsibility for their own recovery process. They have to personally be the one chasing down that recovery process. Your spouse cannot be put in the position of working for you. They can support the recovery, but it is not their problem. Spouses who are going through betrayal trauma from porn addiction, from understanding that their husband has been unfaithful to them through pornography, masturbation, and even in real life infidelity, they're already dealing with a tremendous amount of self-blame. And to tell them that they must take responsibility for their spouse's shared problem is to nullify and then add to the trauma they're already experiencing. This is a very trauma uninformed and unbiblical approach to addiction recovery. Now let's see what else Lisa has to say.
When you're married and one struggles, then both struggle. And so I wish.
Yes, when you're married and one struggles, especially with something like pornography, both are going to suffer. But it is only the responsibility of the one who is embracing addiction to step out of that and seek help. The moment that you have an addict who is already blaming everyone else by the nature of addiction for the reasons they're making the choices they're making, the moment you give them a shred of something to shift blame onto their spouse, you are chopping off at the knees their potential for healthy recovery in the gospel, because you're giving them something to cling to that makes it a little bit less of their choice and their responsibility.
I would have not said, hey, that's yours, fix it. I wish I would have helped him. You know, when your husband is going through something like that, he actually needs affection.
This is, again, really, really dangerous. What you need to do as a spouse who's experiencing betrayal trauma, if your husband has expressed that they are dealing with pornography addiction, sexual addiction, what you need to do is set extremely healthy boundaries. This is the time to help to encourage them to take the steps to get their own therapy, their own healing, but you cannot run that process for them. And you can support them in those choices to do that, but telling them that it's also your problem is to perpetuate the addict mindset. And it goes against the scriptural premise that each of us is fully and completely responsible for our own sinful choices before God. You will unwittingly short circuit the addict you love, their process of healing and recovery. John and Lisa, if you guys end up seeing this, I am super proud that you're taking these steps, that you're having this conversation. Include education and awareness in their process of this that goes beyond their personal experience and includes a thorough understanding of trauma recovery, betrayal, broken trust, and how addiction to pornography and sexual infidelity is a form of abuse, full stop, in its own right, and must be addressed with betrayal trauma information and under the mindset that this is abuse before God. Tens of thousands of people are watching you and listening to your videos. And I am praying that those tens of thousands of people are not going to be led into more self-blame, more victim shaming, and more perpetuation of double abuse as a result of these mindsets. Go you for bringing this conversation to the forefront. Please just keep doing some research. And if you are watching their videos and saying, hey, this doesn't seem right, this seems a little messed up, there are really good resources out there that are biblical and that are trauma informed. And I'm going to link to some of them in the notes underneath this video.